Hey YouTube, now we come to the final Dark Master. This one is the most iconic one, probably second only to Machine Digimon. Probably I think is also very popular. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, let me know in the comments below. Out of the Dark Masters, if you watched Digimon as a kid or back in the day, and you remember the Dark Masters from the main series arc, which of the Digi or the Dark Masters was your favorite? I think mine was probably Piedmon, just because he always seemed like he was the most OP. Because his Trump stored, like, de-digivolving War Greymon, Melgarumon, like, the first time they encountered him was just super good. Machinimon was very cool. I think this is probably most people's favorite, even though he died in a very stupid way. But then Piedmon, I think he's probably the least favorite of most people, and the Metal Seedramon is just kind of over the top. Maybe he's the least favorite, because he was the first to go. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what people think. Anyway, we're going to get into this deck profile here. So this is going to be my purple one. After this, I'll start featuring more, I guess, things other than the Dark Masters. But yeah, the Dark Masters, that's basically what I wanted to do, was I wanted to build all four of them. I did all four of them. So I have green, purple, black, and blue. So let's get right into it. So this deck, I don't consider this deck this is not by any means a budget deck. So unlike the other three, which were mostly budget, I guess the one exception, maybe the Machine Digimon deck, was kind of borderline, not so budget, because it had, like, the War Greymons in it and stuff, and the Millennium Mon. So I guess that one's not really budget either, but this one is definitely not budget. We're going to get into it here. Let's do the Digitama first. So one Yamon, because in late game, this can be live most of the time, but really what you want is Pagumon. So we run 4 of this to ensure that we're trashing stuff. So when attacking, the inherited skills will trash the top card of your deck. So you want to build the trash. This deck, for those wondering how purple plays, it's kind of like Light Sworn in Yu-Gi-Oh! And kind of like Zombies as well. But very much kind of Light Sworn, where you're trashing. You're basically milling the top cards from your deck into the graveyard, aka drop zone or trash in this game. And then just building up for advantage in late game. Alright, so for the main star of the show, we have 4 Piedmon. It would not be a Piedmon deck if you weren't running 4 Piedmon. You could run 3, and that's probably going to be good enough. But if you really want to see this card in most games, you got to run 4 copies of it. So 4 Piedmon, like all Dark Masters, on play. He has an on-play skill. So that's worth noting, because the Dark Masters were never they were in the anime, they never digivolved into their mega forms. They're always first encountered as Mega Digimon. So that kind of goes in this game, the way they made these cards. I feel like it keeps in theme with they're always Mega, like they were never supposed to digivolve up. So it's on play as opposed to when digivolving or that kind of thing. So it's an on play to get that main skill. On play, you play up to 2 level 4 lower purple Digimons from your trash without paying their memory costs. And the on play skills are negated. So this is super good at bringing back 2. Typically, you'll bring like Vilemon and Devimon, or 2 Vilemon. If you don't have any blockers, then you're going to pull in like Devimon or, one of the rookies or something like Piedmon or something. Or maybe even Impmon, and then go into Belzamon if you have him. But that's really, really good at giving you field presence when you really need it. It's almost like a Desperado effect, but it can be a very big advantage engine that you can capitalize on later on if you play this out relatively early. Assuming you have the cards in the trash. That's the reason why you have to mill, so you can get good targets in the trash for him. Now, the other skill that he has is Retaliation. Retaliation is a very nice skill for Piedmon, because he doesn't have to fear any of the big things that are stronger than him. It's more likely that the big things like the War Greymons and all that kind of stuff will be afraid of him, because he can just like swing into them if they're suspended, and he can just bring them down with them. So really, really nice Retaliation skill. Probably my favorite Dark Master overall. Next we are running, and this is where it's not so budget anymore. So 2 Lilithmon, yeah, she's in here. She's what I consider one of the Digivolution or Digivolving targets. So he's something that I would not Digivolve into. So this is something that I would Digivolve into, because when Digivolving, if you have 10 or more cards in the trash, you may return up to 2 purple options from your trash to your hand. So whereas he gets you board presence, she gets you options, assuming they're in the trash. And then once per turn, when you use an option, gain 2 memory. So with this deck, you kind of want to run like 6 options or more. It says to really see the benefit of Lilithmon. I feel like if I was running more of a Lilithmon focused, where I have like 3 or 4 Lilithmon instead of the Piedmon, I'd probably be running like, you know, 7, 8, maybe even 8 options. So it really kind of depends. So 2 Lilithmon, because I need something that's Digivolution or Digivolving target. And the 3 to play is 3 Digivolve is pretty good, and the 11k power is hits over most things. It's pretty standard effect DP. Next, I'm running 1 Belzamon because I do have 1 Belzamon. For some reason, there's 1 of them, so I can run him with the Impmons. In late game, you can Digivolve into him with Impmon if you have the 10 or more in the trash. So that's, again, you want to mill stuff as much as you can, and this deck in its current form kind of struggles with that. So I'm probably going to have to make some changes to it in the near future to improve the speed at which it trashes cards. And then when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's level 4 lower Digimon. So very nice at clearing off like a Vegemon or some kind of annoying champion level Digimon. So these are my 3 Digivolution targets, and those are my on-play. So there's the 7 Megas. Here's where it's kind of weird. So I am running the 1 Millenniummon in here just because I can. To be honest, I might cut it from the deck because it's more cloggy most of the time than anything else. It doesn't really, for some reason, it doesn't really fit the purple build as well as it does, or at least my deck compared to the Machinedramon deck that I have. This one really works well with the Millenniummon for some reason. I don't know why. He doesn't really work in here that well. You typically would Digivolve Piedmon into him to basically, you know, make him start trolling, because if he gets deleted, he comes back. When Digivolving, he gets rid of a problem card. So, but typically you only really bring him out to get rid of like a really big problem card that you can't easily deal with. So 1 hit him, and he's like my 1 level 7. So I guess we'll do it like this so people can see it more clearly. So the Lilithmon, Belzamon, yeah, and then the Millenniummon. Or I guess we'll move these over here. Alright, so for the ultimates, for Chimeramon's really good at removal. On play, delete one of your other Digimon to delete one of your opponent's level 5 or lower. So this gets rid of most everything on the opponent's board except their Megas. Megas are the only things that can survive against this guy. So very, very nice removal for a play cost of 7. So it's almost like a Terra Force because it can hit everything except Mega, and it doesn't matter if the thing is suspended or unsuspended or whatever the power is, whatever the play cost is, doesn't really matter. So Chimeramon is very, very good for removal. One thing this deck does do well is removal. Doesn't really have a problem with removal compared to a lot of other decks. Next, I'm running a card that I'm probably going to cut in the near future, and that's Skull Satamon. This is from the Star deck. When Digivolving, you may return 1 purple Digimon card from your trash to your hand. It's nice. Sometimes I have seen myself grab a Piedmon out of there that got milled. But keep in mind that then the opponent knows that you have it, so they'll kind of try to play around it. Or you could just get, like, you know, some other cards. But the reason why I'm probably going to cut this is because it doesn't really fit in a deck that wants to trash up to 10 cards. Because this can hurt the consistency of Lilithmon and Belzamon. So that's why I'm going to cut it. If I were to cut it, I would obviously cut it for Lady Devimon. Unfortunately, I don't have Lady Devimon. At least not yet. So I'm running this instead. And then I am running 2 Myotismon because he's your 2 to Digivolve. So he's relatively cheap to Digivolve into at the ultimate level. He's a vanilla, decent stats, not anything amazing. But he's mainly just 2 to Digivolve into. I could put Myotismon at 3 or 4 and then drop this to 1 or 2. Let me know in the comments what you guys would recommend from like set 1 ultimate options here. Obviously, most optimal, I'd probably put for Lady Devimon and keep 1 Myotismon, and that'd probably be my ultimate lineup. For champions, I'm running 4 Vilemon. So this is the blocker from the set 1. So this thing is very iconic with Piedmon. That's why you gotta run 4 of it. It's also one of his best revival targets when he's played on the field. So you want to run 4 Vilemon. Like, pretty standard 4 blockers in most builds, I would say. It doesn't matter what color the deck is. Typically, you're always going to find 4 champion blockers in the deck for, defensive capability. So 4 Vilemon, he's your 5 to play. 2 Digivolve 6k, so your standard blocker. When attacking, lose 2 memory. Next, we're running 4 Devimon. Devimon is just really good and really annoying. He has retaliation, and when his inheritable skill is retaliation. So he can give Iotismon retaliation. He can give any of these, basically any of these guys. If he's underneath, Iotismon, he Digivolve into Lilithmon. Now Lilithmon has retaliation. Very, very nice. So Devimon, this will probably be a 4-0 for a long time. I could possibly see this being cut to 3 in like a yellow-purple hybrid, like a Maestimon build or something. But yeah, Devimon is just super good. Like, this and Vilemon are like the bread and butter of the champion lineup for purple, or at least this particular deck. Next, I'm running 2 Raremon. I wish I had more of this, but I only have 2. This does help fill up the trash pile, basically on play. So for 5 cost, reveal the top 3 cards of the deck. Add an option to your hand, trash the remaining. So this is actually very nice with Lilithmon, surprisingly. If you don't get an option, you're filling up trash. If you get an option, you can then use it later and then get it back with Lilithmon. So very, very nice. I kind of wish I had more of these, but I only have 2. So I'm going to run as many as I have of that. And then my 1 remaining champion spot is Wizardmon. Just when he gets deleted, draw 1 card. Kind of cheap to play, 4 to play out. If he dies, draw a card. Digivolve into for a cost of 2. Pretty decent, I guess. But if I had another Raremon, I would definitely prefer the Raremon over this. But yeah, so that's a champion lineup. So 11 champions, that's typically how I like to build them. And 9 ultimates. So for the rookies, 4 Impmon, because we're running Belzamon. And when he's deleted, trash 3 cards from the top of the deck. So really, really nice. Very, very weak. But doesn't really need to be strong at all. 4 Gabumon from the booster pack. On deletion, draw 2 cards, then trash 1 card from the hand. So kind of like a Graceful Charity for purple. Really, really good. Next, 3 Skymon. This has an inheritable skill on deletion, gain a memory. So this is pretty nice, this inherited skill, because it's kind of like having a Hammer Spark. Not quite as good as Hammer Spark, but if something dies, like if this is on Devimon and then Devimon retaliates into something and then you gain a memory, and if it it extends your turns, you can Digivolve again. That's pretty crazy. So it's Skymon at 3, and then 3 Piedmon. I don't have a 4th one of these. I really wish I did, but I only have 3 Piedmon. If I had 4, I would probably run all 4 of them. On deletion, draw a card, but I think 3 is a decent number. You don't have to worry about it if you don't have 4. It's not a make or break thing. So 14 rookies. That's pretty standard. This is a good target for Chimeramon. So is Impmon for his sacrifice to retire something on the opponent's field, or I guess delete something on the opponent's field. Next up, for the options, I am running 4 Trump Sword. This is one of the best options in the game. Second only to Gaia Force, but it is cost 7, whereas Gaia Force is cost 8. So this thing deletes any unsuspended Digimon on the opponent's field. So it gets over like most annoying things. It gets over things with reboot, because they'll stand up and then they think that they're safe, but then they're really not. They'd actually be safer if they were arrested or suspended. Anyway, so Trump Sword at 4. You need 4. It's a good target for Lilithmon to get back if you use it. It's one of those things where you can feel like you don't have to hold onto it all the time, because this deck does have lots of ways to get rid of like problem cards. I mean, it even could potentially use Millenniummon. But yeah, Trump Sword at 4 is just really good. Next, I'm running 2 what I call Monster Reborn, or Night Raid. So this is basically Monster Reborn for a rookie. For the cost of 2 memory, you get to play a purple level 3 from your trash without paying the cost. Any on-play is negated. So basically Monster Reborn. If I was going to change something, I would try to run... I can see myself cutting either Belzamon or maybe even Millenniummon for a 3rd Night Raid. just for Lilithmon, but I feel like an alternative way to build this deck would be to cut Belzamon for a third Lilithmon, and then turn this into like a Night Raid. So that way I would have more options, and Lilithmon would be more. You would see her in the games more often at 3 copies as opposed to 2 copies. Because most of the time, I almost never... sometimes you'll just play through a match where you never even see Lilithmon. Or she'll just end up in security, or you never draw into the other one, and that kind of thing. So definitely I would say the deck is focused around Piedmon more than any of the other megas. And then for the tamers, I am running 2 Mat. That's pretty standard to run 2 of this type of tamer. So this is the one that gives you the 3 memory if you have 2 or less at the start of your turn. And then when you play it, return one of your Digimon or purple option cards from the trash to the hand. So relatively good card when checked in security. It helps. So that's basically the deck. That's my purple. It's probably going to change over time because purple right now is probably one of my favorite, along with black, in terms of which colors I like. But I do kind of like all of them. I need to cover red. I need to cover yellow. But because the Dark Masters aren't from those colors, I've kind of ignored those for now. So anyway, guys, that's my purple deck. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you guys recommend changing, if anything, that I haven't already mentioned. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks.